DocuSign is up 24% after hours on its earnings and revenue call. It looks like people are using the tool after all. 44 cents for second quarter versus 42 cents. Sales came in at 622 million versus 602. This is a really nice beat considering what's going on in the market right now and how we're seeing certain companies miss, especially the companies that are more social media or media based are having the largest issue with earnings. 624, 628 versus 625 sees fiscal 22 revenue 2.47 to 2.48. So essentially what they did here was raise revenue guidance a little bit. They didn't really need to do that. Usually they want to play a little kitchen sink quarter, but they kind of didn't do that, right? They're not really keeping anything close to the vest. They're coming out and saying things are actually getting better. After hours, you can see what we're doing. One of the trades I really like to do, and we'll tell you that we do this in the trading community a lot. Just watch that 15-minute area and watch how you act after the first 15-minute bar. This is usually when you see the exhaustion of the algorithms and the high-frequency traders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and when you subscribe, you click all notifications. It's that bell. That way you get to see these videos because they're extremely timely for the next day. If you're watching these a week later, they just don't have the same, I guess we'll say, pizzazz. So I like this. I like what we're seeing after hours. We have a lot of names to go through here that are actually bidding up. Before we get to the next earnings play that actually beat by 16, well, they beat by like over 10% and they're up over 16% after hours. We're going to get to that in a second and stay to the end because I'm going to do the indexes in detail. So here we are on Tesla. We're holding that 50, right? You're butting right against the 21 and look where the 5 is. So as soon as we flip the 5, as I said yesterday, these are the trades. If you're flipping that 5-day moving average, everybody's watching that right now. Everybody. And they're the trades that are working the best. So now you're set up right here to butt up against there. And we haven't been at that level since that fateful day of August 25th, which we now refer to as Jackson Hole Friday. So what you're going to see here is we're going to see if we can test up to that level, 302, 303. I think this is very realistic. This was actually a trade that we did in the trading room. I'll just walk you through some of the details, not all of them. Clean this up real quick. And just understand where you're at in the pecking order, right? So the majority of what we're seeing, and I just want to make this clear to everybody so that you understand, the majority of what you're seeing is happening in the first 15 minutes of the day. Okay, if you go through all your stock charts, you'll see this. Just remember that. The majority of move is happening in the first 15 minutes. So this is the move. You can see where you're at right here. You can see how you're acting, right? This is something that we've been trading in for some time, but this became really clear. And I actually went out and bought some calls as well, and just based upon the action. But once you did this, this became increasingly clear to me. And just look for these little patterns, and then you want to see if they gap fill and then how they act in those gap fills. But you have this downward trend line right here. You flip that downward trend line. At the same time, you have a little move right here. Now that move, right, is perfectly lined up. You're oversold, you flip, and then you just go. This gave you a really nice entry into there at 282, right? You can actually use that 280 stop. So I went long stock, and then on top of that, 290 calls, and I think I have some 285s too. But I went out a week because I think if this gets moving, it could really move here. I don't think there's a real big hurry to do anything here with this. You're actually seeing it getting tighter in here now, right? So when you play these out, we just don't know how they're going to go, but you broke perfectly with this head and shoulders, which we went over last week in Saturday's video. And then after that, you kind of are starting to roll right back up and you're holding these levels pretty closely. Now there's still a trend line here that you're fighting with a little bit, right? But look at this one. So you never even got to it. And that was definitely a target that was possible. And you never got to it. Then you come here, look at that. And you draw that perfectly, and you kind of see that you're kind of wrestling with it. It's not perfect, but it's in there. And it's in that area where the battle took place, isn't it? So that's kind of interesting. I don't think that this is done. I think that, based upon the earnings tonight, we're going to do Zscaler next. But if you look at this, there's no reason that this can't get to 303 very, very quickly. Zscaler after hours closed at 154. Once earnings were released, we went right to resistance of 171. see this perfectly. A couple people in the room actually traded this. It wasn't an alert. They just did it on their own, which actually makes me happy. You see that right there? See how you're just stopping and you're rejecting right at this area? The only thing I'm going to say about this, if you're long, just be careful. Can it always get better? It can. But when your RSI is up here in the 90s, it's not a question of when that will revert to some kind of mean. It's just, right, it will. It's just a question of when that's going to happen, right? So that's all the question is, not if. But could you push into the conference call that's going exceptionally well right now? Absolutely. So you're seeing the adjusted earnings of 25 cents versus 20 cents, sales of 318 million versus 305 million. You're just knocking the cover off the ball tonight, right? First quarter, they're adjusting sales. So if you look at their adjustment of sales, 339, 341 versus the estimate of 324. EPS of $1.16 versus $1.18, sales of $1.5 billion versus $1.47. They're knocking the cover off the ball. There's very little to say here, and software has kind of been in that space all year long. This should definitely be on your watch list tomorrow. You're seeing all the names kind of trade up this evening. Now, there are some shorts out there that look really good. This is one we did in the room today, AMLX. It looks like the FDA advisory panel liked what they heard. Investors apparently didn't because they sold the stock down. You started to rally. They gave us the flim-flam like it was going to break out, and then it just reversed. When we reversed here, we just waited to see if there was actually going to be real follow-through. So we gave it the opportunity to bounce up, come back. By that point, you know that you have an issue right here. So shorted this here, bought puts on it as well. I think we're up about 50% in the puts. Still short this, quite frankly, because we're up so much in it at this point in the stock. To me, it just kept walking down. And so all we did was just keep walking the stop down. If you could comment on this video, I'm seriously considering doing one of these videos a week, which are trades that we've done that were live calls in the trading room or trades that I've done during the week and showing you and literally walking you through the trade, why they were executed, and then as well as how the trade was managed, either in the trading room or how I managed the trade. I think it might be helpful, but if you could comment on that, that would let me know if there's even any interest in that or we just want to see new ideas. I create the content for everybody, so it's the more feedback you give me, the better it is. But this is not over. Look at this. Okay, that's about as nasty as you can get. These were the levels after hours. We can clean that up right now. And all you're going to probably see eventually is this probably gap fill. Now, I don't know if you're going to get the true gap fill of that 17 or not, but you're definitely going to continue to, your downward trajectory right here. So I would keep that in mind. As I've been saying for some time now, this has been one big trade. So here are the cues. These are your lows. I'm going to leave all these moving averages in for a reason. You just start seeing how we're starting to turn again. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to last, but that 5-day moving average, yesterday was the first day we were above it. Today, we're banging our head against the 10-day moving average and starting to work our way up. Does that mean we're out of the woods? No, it just means that we're not just dropping. So what does that mean? Well, gives us a really clear level now on what we need to watch. So that 291, if you break that, the chances of breaking that and then not getting to something like 280 are pretty slim. So we're going to want to make sure that we hold here now. We're not really seeing that destruction come through anymore. We're not really seeing the breaking down. They keep trying to break us, and they're just not doing it. If you look at names like NVIDIA, right, closed above the 5-day for the first time. So you're not seeing that destruction. So keep that in mind, keep that 290 level and keep that close to the vest. I think that that's definitely a level to watch. If you look at the SPY, this doesn't get any cleaner. It really doesn't. I mean, right to that 390 level and you held, you're right on the trend line, you're right on the support, okay? You flipped the 5-day moving average, you're sitting on the 10 and the 50. Does this mean you're going to go straight up? No, you have a lot of data that we're going to go through on Saturday. So make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to walk through CPI next week, how to play it, as well as its quad witching that's coming up. So next week and the week after, and then you have the Fed meeting. There's going to be a lot to do, and there's going to be a lot going on. But what we're looking at here is at least we're making progress and we're not falling down. And considering the outstanding energy issue, we could have absolutely fallen down with what's happening in Europe right now. You're seeing the bond yields rise a little bit and the market not really care about it, which is kind of interesting. And even here, we're seeing them. We see the sale of treasuries, but they're buying high yield bonds. So that's interesting as well. If you take a look at the VIX, which I would recommend that you keep an eye on, we broke 25. So this tells you everything that you need to know. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's a home run from here, but I am suggesting that you really want to watch the VIX. And unless, get rid of these indicators, unless we're above 25 on the VIX, I really don't see the need to panic here. Let's just see how we act. But this is actually setting up to break down and possibly go back down and maybe test in here. But maybe we can really get in there like 2021 again and see how we do. So that's it for the evening. Let me know what you thought of this and let me know about my idea for showing more trades so that you can kind of learn and develop those skills for yourself. And we will go from there. If you are interested in the trading community, to preview it is a link in the top right corner. Everybody have a great evening and trade to win tomorrow.